All right, AP video volume 2. I'm keeping the volume down a little bit because my roommate's working from home in the other room, but hopefully you can still hear me pretty well. Walk us through daily routines. What is a good versus bad day? What it can feel like? Well, typically on a work day, I'll get up at the ripe hour of 6:30 in the morning. Spend the next 10 to 20 minutes trying to will myself to get out of bed, hitting snooze on my alarm maybe a couple times. Um, Take the bus to work. I try to either study Portuguese, read, get some work done by like doing my emails on my phone, um, or just like slack off and go on Discord. um, then I work for 8 hours, maybe eight and a half. I'm doing lunch. I take the bus back, and again, kind of same deal as um, taking the bus there in terms of the things that I could be doing. Um, and lately in my life, I've just sort of been having like back-to-back social engagements after work. So I'll catch up with a friend or a group of friends typically. Um, and then if it's a Friday, I'll try to like go out, go to some like clubs and bars. Um, Typically, I'll stay up pretty late, like maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning. Um, I'll take a slow morning the next morning. Unless, well, actually, I guess so. Half of Saturdays I have D&D, so I take a bus down to Tacoma, which is like a majoring city or a major neighboring a major neighboring city of Seattle. So yeah, like I'll read on the bus. I'll bus for like an hour, hour and a half, and then go DM the campaign that I'm running for my friends. Saturday, Sunday plans. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like I'll typically have something fun with friends. Maybe I'll go on like a date or basically like spend the day with like the girl I've been seeing. Um, Try to write a little bit. I'm writing a book. Um, Catch up with family. That can also happen on weekdays too. But I try to see my family like at least once a week, every family member. Yeah, that's my routines. What is a good versus bad day? What it can feel like? Um, I don't know. This isn't great, but I typically sort of judge things based off of my own productivity. Um, so if I'm like unproductive, it'll usually put me in a pretty bad mood. But I'd say like a good day is like where I'm doing something new and like not just like stuck in some sort of routine and like hanging out with people, having interesting interactions, you know, or where I get a lot of writing done, I'm like creatively inspired and motivated. Yeah, I think it just more depends on like ability to like catch up with the people that I care about and uh, yeah, ability to like get things done that like I want to do. Um, my own creative agenda or whatever. Um, and yeah, what kind of activities I'm able to plan or do. Um, Talk about a skill you've learned and what information you use to support the learning process. I think I had something in mind for this when I read it over. Oh yeah, I guess writing, because it's been sort of a big focus for the last like 2 years at this point, and it's like I don't know how far back I want to go. Like I've been writing for a really long time, obviously, because kind of everybody does in the American school system and most other countries' school systems. But like, um, I don't know. Like I think for me, like I write a lot of essays and stuff, but I was also kind of interested in creative writing, and I did some short story writing, especially in college and high school a bit. I think I got into it, but it was never like my main hobby or anything. Like, but I think a lot of my hobbies are like centered around it or like related to it. Like I'd write short stories based off other hobbies, or I'd do world building for um, other hobbies, like D&D or whatever. I would. Sorry, there are like just some loud and obnoxious noises happening outside. Um, but hopefully you can hear me over that. Um, but yeah, and I'd write a lot of like song lyrics. I was kind of like the big like lyric guy for some of the bands that I was in, um, especially kind of like the main band that I was in college. That was kind of like my strength. But then I started writing like a whole ass book, which was like very much, I guess, uncharted territory. Um, but I think for that, like, I definitely did have to learn a lot. Like, I feel like I had to like make a lot of like rookie writer mistakes in terms of like bad pacing, like self-insert characters, uh, too many fight scenes, like too many flashback sequences, like you know what I mean? Um, but I think after I sort of finished the first draft and have been sort of taking a look back and like kind of getting a more objective look at like the process and how it went, I've been able to go back and like change a lot. Um, so I don't know. They're like I think I learned as I was going to like um, by the end of the book, my writing was a lot stronger than it was at the beginning. Like I feel like I sort of stuck the landing, which is good. And like in my revision process, I don't think I'm gonna have to go back and like revise much compared to certain other chapters at the beginning. um, what information you use to support the learning process? I'm trying to think like what else. Um, sorry, like thinking. Maybe I'll come back to that. Talk about your last romantic or friendship breakup. How did you get through it? Um, my last like friend breakup. My last breakup was a friend breakup. I guess I should say. Um, and like it's one of those things where it's like I guess I was definitely like the villain. But I think I handled it pretty well, all things considered. In terms of just like kind of doing what needed to be done and what was like emotionally like right, I guess. Um, it was a friend that I'd had since I was like I think 15 or 16. Like we became friends in high school. He's sort of the guy who like showed me like the punk scene and like it took me to my first punk show and like everything. So he was really into music and um, so we kind of went way back and then we hadn't really like talked or hung out that much over college because I'd been like on the other side of the country, so it'd been like 5 years. And I think we just sort of grew apart. But once I started moving back to Seattle, he started hitting me up a lot and I think basically like he sort of was like assuming that we were like gonna be like best friends or something like when I got back and that we were like a lot closer than like like the level of the friendship was a lot closer than like I guess like I was seeing it at the time. Um and yeah, that made me feel like kind of a dick because it's like it's not like I didn't want to be friends with him, but I just didn't want to be like hanging out with him like all the time and texting him all the time. And we were just like very obviously on different wavelengths. And that's sort of the kind of thing that like I don't think you can like negotiate back down with someone after you've after like I've kind of like been meeting him at that level a little bit or like maybe like dragging my feet a little bit, but like kind of like at least like I don't know, sending mixed signals or whatever. So it was kind of like I was kind of just like I think I just have to tell him that I don't really want to be friends anymore, which is kind of awful. And I sort of dragged my feet and was like kind of a little bit like mentally in denial about it for like a couple months after I had started having those thoughts. But eventually I just like bit the bullet and sent him a text, and I think he took it well. Like he was like, because I was just trying to be like, look, I'm really sorry. Like I'm absolutely like the asshole here. But I just like I really just wasn't feeling things anymore. Like like we would hang out and I just like would not be having fun or vibing. Like again, it was just like it'd been 10 years. Like I felt like I was a completely different person. Um, he was a very different person too. So it's just like I don't know. I just like really wasn't feeling it anymore. How did I get through it? Again, I think the thing to get through was more just like kind of willing myself to cut it off more than like anything afterwards. I actually like, I mean, I felt like a complete asshole, but that like faded pretty quickly. And after that, I sort of just felt like I made the right decision. Like, I think that I would still be stressed if he was like texting me and stuff. And again, it's like it's somebody who I genuinely like wish the best. Like whatever, I hope that he meets his dream lover and makes millions of dollars and like whatever the fuck, right? Like, um, but it's just like I just didn't really want to be friends anymore. So, um, as romantic breakup, I kind of want to stay on this topic just because I think like there's probably a lot here that you can mine from this. Um, Most romantic breakup, I think getting through that was a lot harder because it was like we were together for like 2 years and it kind of ended with her dumping me pretty unceremoniously. Um, but I think that was a really long, rough healing process. I think I'm definitely over her in terms of like not having any lingering like love feelings or anything, and that's kind of where I've been for the last like 2+ years at this point. So it's like it's not like the healing in that was easier than the healing from just like the amount of hurt that like I incurred from being in that relationship. Um, how did I get through it? I think weirdly, I think something that made that easier was the fact that she sort of like left me for someone and wasn't very honest about that fact, which kind of made it easier to just like unambiguously hate her, honestly. So it wasn't like I definitely did. I was, and I still have been crashing out about the ways that I was like a shitty boyfriend or like was dropping the ball and stuff. But just the sort of the the callous hypocrisy, especially sort of coming from someone who had like accused me a lot of being um potentially like unfaithful or something, which is all like completely baseless. Just to then go on and like immediately like leave me without any like hinting at that or conversation, and then just like start dating her coworker like the day after, possibly cheated on me. It was just like, all right, fuck you, like you stand for nothing. I don't respect you. You're dead to me. Like it was pretty easy to have that response. I would say, just given the level of like I don't know, like emotional attacks that had been heaped on me, and like just sort of realizing that a lot of that was just like hollow projection at the end of the day. Um, but it recontextualized all that to also be like, okay, wow, so you have this self-conception of yourself as like somebody who's super like loyal, and you're mean, but you're mean because you're loyal and you just care so much about the relationship. And it's like, okay, actually you just don't like care about any of that. You don't have any values. Um, so again, like um that like I think made it easier. And then I just like kind of um I think I just changed a lot as a person after that, and I like went on a bunch of kind of interesting life arcs and like I don't know, um had kind of like um I don't know, I just sort of had to like set everything on fire and like um kind of take the old me out behind the barn and shoot it in the head, like which I think ended up paying off really well. I mean, like the whole like the year after that, like the whole vibe shifted, and I think the vibe has continued to shift and um, kind of, you just keep changing and evolving and becoming a different person, which I am not necessarily uncomfortable with. Like I enjoy, um, but yeah, like I mean, the year after that, like I kind of went on like a bit of a warpath, like um, in a good way, in a creative way, I think. Um, but it was like I was like hanging out with completely different people. Um, I started a new band that I got really into. I like formed like like an academia secret society and like had this whole like crazy arc. So it was just it just kind of was like a perfect like clean slate. And like I think at the moment like I was in a lot of emotional pain and I wasn't necessarily like happy in the moment, but like looking back, like that was kind of one of the best years of my life, weirdly. It's like it's so it's I don't know, it's just weird to me how like that can um like things can happen that way. But I was like rereading a bunch of my old like kind of like diary journal entries, and it was just like the most emo shit imaginable, like pages and pages of just like abject misery, and that's like not necessarily like how I remember that year, or like how it ended up being like kind of legendary. So it's just very weird. Um, anyways, oh, more on writing, I guess. So one thing that I wanted to say, and like I thought it was kind of cool, is like I'm pretty confident in my writing abilities. Uh, but like I saw, I was watching like a video and the guy was saying like, um, I try not to like internalize stuff like this too much, but it was interesting, certainly. He basically said like it's kind of it's funny how people like I was watching a bunch of like writing advice videos and stuff, um, kind of like on YouTube in my ear while I was like at work doing like more mindless work. And the guy was saying it's interesting how it's like you'll replay your favorite game or watch your favorite movie like 10 times, but nobody like rereads their favorite books that like you'll be like that's yeah, it's my favorite book that I read once. And I was like, damn, like that's a little true, or at least like I think it would be good to like go back and like look at like really analyze the writing style of like the stuff that inspired me. Um, so I ended up doing that. And I think like that kind of helped too. Um, yeah, and then like again with the like um information supporting the learning process, like I tried to just like read more because I was like I was in like a mindset of like I'm not a reader, I'm a writer. Like it's like all my time that I would have been spending reading, I was spending writing. Um, and I don't think that was like great in terms of just like getting like a feel for like pacing and just like word style. So yeah, it's just that was a skill that I think like I really had to sort of like throw myself off the deep end and just like taking on like a sort of like wildly ambitious project that I hadn't really like done anything near that before. Um, and then you start, and then I did the draft. It took me like a little over a year, and then the revising process. Just like I just sort of took everything that I learned from all that. Um, tell us about an important plan you've made or considered for your life. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think even like writing the book, I think could qualify as one. In college, when I was in like my big band, like um, we were getting really before it all kind of imploded due to like we had like a love triangle. Like the other person in the band was like um, into my ex at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, I guess. And was also just being kind of a shitbag. Um, and then I think my girlfriend was kind of like um, manipulative too, and trying to like just split up the band and sort of blow some things up. Um, but before everything got derailed and ruined forever, um, we uh, we were like we'd written like over an album's worth of we basically like between the two of us we had like an album and a half worth of songs. Like we were kind of like a fucking like power duo, honestly. Um, I don't know if I'm still a FLVE, but this person was like an EVLF, so it was just like they were just like kind of injecting a lot of like adrenaline and energy into my veins, and then I was like a really good songwriter and like just kind of going through like a sort of like creative like fountain of inspiration at the time. Um, so I just sort of like was writing all these like crazy good songs, um, and they were kind of helping provide like energy and discipline. I mean, they're like a pretty good songwriter too, but I think it was kind of just nice to be able to sort of ride their energetic wave. Um, and yeah, like we were I'd originally wanted to study abroad, and there were like just a lot of stuff that like you assume that like you should do in college, like or I did at least kind of somewhat like unthinkingly perhaps. And then I was like, no, like I really believe in myself. I believe in like this project. Like I want to stay here, and like also like kind of realizing that like my life's kind of here. So just we were like trying to we were close to getting like signed. Like we had there was like this super like local like independent like record label, right? That had like offered to record our album. So we are thinking about that, but we were also kind of like maybe we should hold out for um something that's gonna like be able to produce it better. We were both like, I mean, we were like in like a punk kind of a crusty like punk metal band, but we also didn't want to create something that was like so raw and DIY sounding that like you couldn't even like hear the lyrics, like tell the lyrics that we were saying, right? Like we wanted to kind of go for something a little bit like a little bit like higher than that, I guess, or like that. I mean, that can be a vibe, but it's like that just wasn't the vibe that we were going for. Like we didn't want it to sound like a live recording. We wanted something like crisper for like the music that we were doing. And yeah, like we'd been able to like play a couple shows, and we were like planning like planning the whole album, and yeah, so just like it felt like it was coming together basically, again, until it all fell apart in horrible, spectacular fashion. But yeah, right now, I don't know if this counts as like an important plan, but I'm gonna stay in Brazil for like a month, in about a month from now, because I'm going for work for like 2 weeks, but I'm gonna stay for an extra 2 weeks to like learn the language and sort of immerse myself and hang out with my coworkers. So I think that'll be fun. I'm in kind of like a phase of my life where I can kind of just do whatever the fuck I want, which is like super nice. Like um, I can just fuck around in Brazil for a month because I can, basically. So that feels pretty freeing. Um, Talk about a time your body felt at its best. I don't know. Like I feel like my body feels at its best when I'm able to just ignore it. Like most of the time, honestly, I'm not like um I'm not like doing like some like weekend spa day or something. Like I don't know. I'll get like random headaches and shit, and try to get more sleep or eat more. Like identify the problem, but generally I'm noticing more if like something's going wrong. I mean, I can talk about like my various like sexual escapades if you really want, but that would probably be like peak body sensation. Um, I um I ate my ex's ass after like a uh show, or this is when we were in a band together. Um, and we'd been I can't believe I'm telling this story. Like we'd been uh like there've been all these like issues in the music scene. Um, and this other club had like sprung up and was basically like doing the shit that like our club um had been like that are like our wheelhouse, and like everybody kind of knew that, and we tried to like extend the olive branch and be diplomatic. Um we were like, yo, you want to work with us like to host a show that's for local bands at the school, and they just like ignored us. So we ended up playing a show um we played this like crazy like 5 minute long like like artsy like post-hardcore song, but like my ex was doing like bluesy vocals over it, and I was playing like some crazy like brooding riff, and then it had like this like build up at the end to like a breakdown and some weird like kind of like almost like atonal parts. But basically like it brought down the entire house. Like everybody was like like flipping out, like super into it. There were like 16 bands on the bill, so everyone was playing like two songs. But when we played that song, like people were just like streaming out of there afterwards because they were like, "That's it, like it's peaked." Um, so yeah, we kind of just like basically like upstaged them and gave them the middle finger at their own show. Um, and then yeah, afterwards, my ex and I proceeded to have like basically some of the best sex of my life. So it was like I was kind of like riding the like power trip and like the high after that from just like being on stage. Um, I don't know. I fulfilled I guess like one of my like ultimate like sexual fantasies like maybe like a year and a half ago, which was basically like sleeping with a woman who had like a ton of plastic surgery. Um, and she was like this like 32-year-old like Instagram model, like some like SM dom, like, um, and we were watching like Saw 3 in her bed on like the like Roku TV screen that she had in front of her bed. Um, and yeah, just like we had like the horror movie was still on while we were like um, sleeping together and like it was like the end of the movie where like there's like the rack trap where the dude's limbs are being like twisted around like one by one. So it's like just like bloody like tears and like death screams while we are like having like basically like the best sex of my life. Um, so those are probably like two of the times that I would say like my body felt at its best. Now you know. Tell a subject that you know more about than the average person. Um, I don't really know like where to begin with this. I like what's immediately coming to mind is I guess the line of actual control, which I've been a little bit obsessed with because I was one of the books I was reading. They were basically talking about um, which like it was a speculative fiction book, so it's like 5 to 10 years in the future, and it's about like geoengineering, like shooting sulfur up into the atmosphere to like cool it down. As sort of like a band-aid solution to global warming and sort of like dealing with all the like sort of controversial aspects of that. But one thing that was in the book that I didn't know was also a thing in real life, but then I like kind of did some research and like found out about it. Is a line of actual control. So that's there's basically like the border between China and India, like in the Himalayan region, is actually like currently like contested. Like India and China are technically at war with each other, but they're both nuclear powers, so they can't. I mean, they obviously can't like fire nukes at each other, but they can't even like kill like to kill another soldier would be like crossing the line. Um, so like it's I mean it's all kind of arbitrary, which is interesting, but I guess this is like what they've decided doesn't count as like a real war, but they can still fight over it. So there's the border in the Himalayan region is constantly shifting, like like 20 feet, 200 feet, and Indian and Chinese soldiers are fighting with sticks and stones, like caveman unga bunga warfare, to just like move their line of control back and forth. So like watch some like um, YouTube videos about their like conflict is like started up again at like this border. So that was really fascinating. The other thing that I kind of went down this rabbit hole for like work because I was trying to my job's a little like Machiavellian sometimes. Like I was basically trying to like create a list of like all the most like influential political figures in the in like the Amazon region. So like the Amazonian part of Brazil and then the Amazonian parts of like the other countries. And it's like who are the mayors of the provinces like what go in the Amazon? Who are the like the heads of the countries? Um, who are like the ministers of the environment? Like all the like influential figures. Like what's their social media handles? I sorted it by like what their political allegiance is, how environmentally sympathetic they are, and then just like some sort of like bio type information about them. So I made this like basically a big spreadsheet about it to try to target like media messaging, like putting pressure on political leaders and stuff. But I was kind of obsessed with Brazil's political system because they have like 30 different political parties, and like in some ways it's better than ours and in some ways it's worse. Like it's just very like kind of like asymmetrical. Like it feels a little like apples to oranges, honestly. I mean, they have like Bolsonaro, who's like people were saying was worse than Trump. I don't know if that's true, but like certainly like a kind of authoritarian far right leader. But now they have like a socialist in power who's like, I think like a little bit corrupt, but like largely based. Has done good things, and like they have like free healthcare, which is better than we have in the U.S., right? But then they also have like problems like organized crime and everything. So I don't know, just the Brazilian political system is really interesting. But basically, like with the fact they have like 30 parties, it's like you have more of an opportunity for fringe political parties and people's interests that fall outside of just like the US's like two-party system to gain some degree of representation. Like you might have like a libertarian party with like 6 seats in in Congress or something like that. Um, um, but they'll all, of course, like for every election, they'll form into blocks like to try to like consolidate power and like beat the other parties. You'll have like you'll have like a block of like 8 parties, and of course they're all named like like the People's Party of Socialism, and then it's like you look into their platform and it's like far right or something. Like their names are all incoherent. They'll form into these blocks that are also incoherent because you'll have like like a socialist party, a libertarian party, like a fascist party, and like 3 centrist parties like allying with each other to to like just consolidate power and just be able to beat all the other guys. So it's like, and it's constantly shuffling around every election. So it's like this like bleacher seat shuffle that just happens like every time an election needs to happen. But what's really fascinating about this is that like about half of Brazil's political parties are called the Central, like, but they're not centrists. They're not moderate. They just don't have a coherent political position. So you have like half of the parties that like actually like stand for something and have like an agenda, and then half that are basically just political opportunists who exist to bulk up the numbers of the other party. It's like foam in like a beer glass or something. Like they just exist to like get political seats because they're like career politicians who want to do this. It's obviously fantastically corrupt. But they exist to like bulk up the numbers of the other parties so that they can organize into large enough blocks to win elections. But I was like, is this real? Like I was texting my coworkers and they were like, yeah, like so I don't know, just it's sort of wild to me that like that exists. So anyways, that's kind of what I've been, I guess, hyper fixating on lately in terms of subjects that I know about. Um, what are your thoughts on people? Who do you like and dislike? Be as specific or vague as you wish. Um, I made some water. Give me one second. I don't know. Like, I like to think, um, in terms of like some great like worldview on people, like, I don't know. It's like, obviously I'm gonna say this, but I like feel like I have a pretty objective grasp. I honestly might skew a little bit towards, like assuming good intentions in people as a default stance, which has certainly bitten me in the ass. But I think that it benefits me more often than it's not, because if you're coming in with like incredibly negative projections about people and their intentions before you've even had a confirmation of those intentions, like I feel like that can just really hurt to be on the receiving end of. Like I've been on the receiving end of that. Um, but yeah, like what's my like the idiot masses like like my view of people. I don't know. I think most people like have vaguely good intentions, whether that's like translating into action necessarily is another story, but I don't think that like I don't know, some people have like extremely cynical views where they're just like people are out to fuck you over, like everybody hurts you in the end, and it's like no, like um I don't really think that. I mean, I think that those people certainly exist. Like there are people who are just like maliciously like their agenda is just to hurt other people. But I think most people at least have an interest in feeling justified in like what they're doing. Um, and that can manifest in just like being nice, even if that's like reflexive niceness or fake niceness. I don't like think it's always completely fake because I think that a lot of that is just like empathizing with people and like wanting to be kind because it just makes the other person feel good and being invested in the other person feeling good. Um, but um, but yeah, I mean, of course, like I think part of the like need to feel justified, like I guess I've talked about this in the context of the Enneagram and like super ego is that like I think that like people, even people who are like have like the strong conquer the weak mindsets or whatever, usually have some sort of like need to like prove why that's okay to themselves and other people. Um, like I'm just someone who doesn't give a fuck, or like, well, that's how the world works. Like they'd be taking from me if I didn't take from them. So like I think those minds, like the fact that you even need to justify it, like it belies a need to feel like justified in the first place, which is like a super ego-y thing. So I think everybody has like more of a super ego than they almost everybody has more of a superego than even they might conceive of themselves as having, even if they're someone who doesn't give a fuck, because um, they're going to justify it as like making them more interesting or more of like a badass or whatever positive traits that they think are ultimately worth, however cruel or selfish they might be. But yeah, generally speaking, like I mean, I feel like um, my my thoughts on like most people is like what frustrates me about most people is that they're like kind of incapable of seeing the bigger picture a lot of the time and sort of vulnerable to like manipulative narratives, sort of like as like a group or a herd. Um, like there's like a lack of vigilance or something, or just like a myopic focus on like their own world and their own experience, and they're just sort of projecting that into like their worldview as opposed to trying to have a worldview that's like based on like an understanding of like the world. Um, what I like about people, generally speaking, is like I'm generally pretty interested in people. Like I don't like and I can kind of find a reason to like most people. Um like I just think that like people are really like complex and like people like kind of have like their own thing that like they're into and like what they're doing, and I'm generally pretty like willing to like I guess like meet them where they're at in that regard. Um and yeah, I mean like I said this in the last video, but I also think that like again, it's like I can be frustrated by how like I don't know like sort of like myopic and like lacking big picture understanding like I see most people as, but I also at the same time like see people as like fountains of knowledge or resources in like the thing that they know a lot about, or like the thing that they're good at. So I'm like generally pretty interested in that. Like tell me about like what you know a lot about. Like that's like what's your like whatever it is. It's just like I'm curious. Like I want to know. Um, who do I like and dislike? Again, it's like I kind of just like people who are interesting to me, and that can look like an incredibly wide variety of people. Um, there are definitely people who I click more with that I think that that comes from um, like a communication style being similar or something. Um, um, I like people like have things going for them, like goals and like interesting things that they're up to. Um, I kind of like people who are like willing to like transform and just sort of like someone who can sort of like almost like take me on a ride a little bit, like where it's like this relationship with this person is gonna like change me and like or show me some like completely new side of reality or like I don't just like yeah just somebody who's gonna like kind of blow my mind a little bit and will just like be able to like yeah just something like new and interesting and just somebody who's like really distinct. um People I dislike, I think like I mean like I feel like the most like I feel like a way to get on my bad side pretty quickly is just like people who are like a really like controlling and reactive towards me, like people who like want to fight. um I think that people are like incredible like super moralizing. People who guilt me a lot, like people who try to like scold me or like make me feel like a bad person or like knock me down a peg or something like people who try to like humble me or like I just find that like attitude like completely off-putting. um so yeah, it's like I don't know, there's a level of like um I guess I don't know, like there has to be a level of like comfortability with like the idea of everyone being flawed or like my flaws. And then it's like, because it's like I'm comfortable with yours generally speaking. So I think there just has to be like a mutual level of like respect and understanding around that, where it's and this is I guess this is tying back into my worldview about people in general, where it's like we're all sort of like horribly flawed in certain ways. Um, like everybody just has like everybody has massive like almost everybody unless you're like some sort of like you've whatever you've gone through like a shit ton of like inner work and you're like the wisest person ever, like everybody has like just giant blind spots and like issues and stuff, and it's like if you're just like if you just think that like everybody's like a huge piece of shit because of that, and you can't really tolerate like complexities in people, like I just find that attitude to be kind of off-putting, because it just to me it just strikes me as like a yeah, like this is how things are, um, I don't know, yeah, again it's like controlling behavior, people who are like yeah like punishing. um, I dislike people like really lack integrity too, um, like people who are willing to just like kind of like fuck people over because they can get away with it, I guess. um, I also just like I think that if like somebody's values just like really aren't aligned with me, like if they're interesting enough, I can get over it. Like honestly, but if they're not and they're like really trying to like push those values on me, I think I can have a really hard time. Um, I don't know. Maybe I could talk more about who I like. Um, I have like the people that I've been closest to are people like I don't know, for me it's like I have friendships that I've like people I've been friends with like literally my entire life. So I guess I like really value like loyalty and like going far back. And again, it's like, I mean, there's the example of like the guy who we knew each other for 10 years technically, and like I like friend broke up with him. I do think like people can drift apart and stuff, but like um I think by and large, like, I mean, there are people that I'm like super loyal to that I would like um I don't know, just like take a bullet for, honestly. Like that's like maybe like too much to say, but like I don't know if that's like corny or whatever, but it's like it is kind of true. Like I mean, I'm gonna go see a friend in Tacoma. Well, I'm gonna go see a friend today who I've literally known my entire life. Um, because he's back in town, and then I'm gonna see a friend in Tacoma, and I've been friends with this person for like almost a decade at this point. We met before college, and we've just like been really tight ever since then. I'm still like I called my old college roommate. I have a Discord friend group who are probably all going to be watching this video, who I'm really close with. So yeah, I think there's a level for me where I think that like friendships and realizing how much I care about people like is something that like kind of just grows over time. Um, and yeah, like once I'm once I'm in, I'm in. Um, and I think that generally, yeah, I guess I feel like I've already said a lot. Like generally, the people I'm most drawn to are people who are going to be like um, really interesting and like distinct and just like somebody I can just get fascinated by. I also think um, like seeing me is like super like people who understand me um, like there's a level of like looking for like validation that you're actually like you actually get me and you're not like projecting like some idea of me that is just like wildly off base from like who I actually am. I think sometimes like one thing that I've noticed is that I can like shut down around certain people like sort of involuntarily, and even if I'd been like telling myself that I liked them um, or whatever, it's just something I've had to notice a lot like over time. Um, like seeing that happen and just sort of realizing that um, I don't know that like we're not that they're not seeing me, and something about this dynamic is just causing me to like completely shut down and like be a like a blanker, more anonymous version of myself. So it's something I've been trying to identify, and that I think I've gotten a little bit better at. Tell us about something significant that has shaped you into the person you are. Um, I mean, I think I talked about this a lot earlier, but like honestly, like I do think that like my bad breakup like 3 years ago, and just that relationship in general, like for better or worse, really shaped me into the person that I am. Um, I think I was kind of a lame boyfriend, but I don't know, like to be fair to myself, like I think I was just going in with a lot of like assumptions about like the amount of effort I should be putting into a romantic relationship, and that I expected my partner to also be putting into a romantic relationship, and there was just like a huge mismatch between our expectations in that regard. Um, and then I think afterwards, like I don't know, I became like kind of more obsessive about like dating and relationships in general. Honestly, I became a lot more obsessed with like my appearance and like aesthetics and like putting in effort in those areas that I just like largely like not really been putting in much effort at all in before. Um, I think I became I don't know. It sucks because I mean this is like very like six like sorry some idiot is honking, but this is like very six like phobic counterphobic, but I think that I was um uh, kind of like incredibly conflict avoidant and timid before to a degree that like I didn't even really like notice. Um, and then there's a period in life where I like gained a lot of confidence and started acting like a bit of an asshole. Um, but I think that like just the constant fighting and like sort of being beaten down by the relationship sort of made me go back into like a sort of like a conflict avoidant modality. And that's been hard to like navigate, I guess, because it's like I want to just be able to like show up and fight people over things that I care about and are important, um, and assert myself in those ways without like being an asshole. Um, and that's like a really difficult balance to strike. And I think I'll get negative feedback from people and I'll like internalize that um, as like I must be a bad person or something. Um, it can just become difficult for me to like entangle uh, it can be difficult for me to like entangle that, I guess, from like whether or not I actually am justified. Um, but I also think, I mean, there, what didn't kill me kind of made me stranger. Like, I think that was like pretty real. I think it just sort of like it lit sort of a fire inside of me, in terms of just like I don't want to feel this way again. Um, I felt like again, it's just like the feeling like um, the feeling of like having someone sort of like drain everything from you to where you feel like you're numb or you're boring or ugly or whatever. It's like, um, I think that was just like a really powerful, like activating, motivating factor. And I mean, honestly, just like, um, feeling like I was like uninteresting or like undynamic or something. I think that I just like, I think it just led to a lot of like powerful, like transformation and like inspiration. Um, and just sort of, yeah, it like sort of set me free in a lot of ways, even though it was like, I was kind of going through it at the time. Um, which AP type do you see yourself as? What are you looking to get out of the typing process? Um, I guess I'll start with what I'm looking to get out of the typing process. Like, I think like, with all these changes, I'm kind of wondering if I'm something new now. I think that like, um, I don't know, I'm just kind of like, honestly, I'm just like a slut for like new data and new information. So like the idea of a retype is like just kind of like generally exciting, like no matter what it ends up being, because it's like something new to sink my teeth into, you know what I mean? Um, which type do I see myself as? I mean, I don't know, like I was trying to make FLV work for a while and I was like pretty into it, like seeing it, like the ENA archetype, like the results F and E versus process L and V. Um, Now I kind of have no idea. I'm like, um, some people were saying like ELVF. I think that like that feels weird. I don't really, but I don't know. I mean, like, I think whatever I feel like pretty solid on 2L still. Like I feel like that. Like I would be kind of shocked to not be. Um, But other than that, like it's very up in the air. Like I don't necessarily like think that I am still well, I don't know. I mean, I could still be FLVE, but 4E0 might be a little like suspect. And I think 1F1 feels suspect too. I agree with like 2L2. If V is still, I think if V is still about like kind of like all the like energy and executive functioning and like seeing yourself as like the authority shit, then I think 3V would still make a lot of sense. Um, but if it's uh, if it's more about like creativity and inspiration, like that doesn't really feel like a well that like um, I'm particularly like anxious about running dry or anything. Like I don't maybe I'm just not self-aware, but like I don't know. I feel like I'm like a pretty like creative person and somebody who's like pretty like intuitive and good at like looking at like pathways and stuff. But yeah, but again, if it's still like um if it's I guess I don't know how close it is to the original definition. If it's closer to the original definition, I can see 3V, maybe even 4V. Um, but if it's like going hard into like creativity and intuition and seeing pathways, like I'd almost be back on like 1V or something. Um, so yeah, that those are my thoughts. It's like um, it's all like pretty up in the air, and I'm just really curious um, to see what people think.